how do we get the people to prioritize a sustainable earth and biodiversity over money?
Well, the two are not necessarily at odds, and the Clinton Initiative and the oath, charity oath of the world's billionaires, that's now very much at play. Warren Buffett and Bill Gates having just gone to India to talk with the 80 wealthiest individuals in that country to try to unleash the power of money to help nature, to help human nature and all other natures. They're not incompatible. This notion that multinationals are bad, that the financial markets are bad, that the values associated with capitalism are bad, I think is muddled thinking. There are bad aspects to everything I just mentioned, for sure. Hugely horrendous aspects. On the other hand, we've developed a global currency amongst at least 6.2, 6.3 billion Homo sapiens who are not on the barter system and who do use financial currencies as indices of value. So my recommendation in thinking about that very good question is to work out in your own heart how you reconcile giving, philanthropy, gestures of selflessness in the natural world and in the human community. What is very encouraging to me is to see groups of 6 and 7 and 8-year-olds who are philanthropic. And let's not forget, in 1989, the Montreal Protocol on stratospheric ozone was really prompted by a 9-year-old girl who wrote a letter to the CEO of DuPont, worried about her horse, her red pony. She put the connection together that somehow ozone depletion could kill her red pony. And that little letter was apparently so poignantly received as to have created one of the best treaties and most quickly adopted treaties ever. There's the example of a 13-year-old Canadian lad who went to Asia and started a march to protest human rights violations amongst kids, and he got millions of followers. There's the Swedish example of a young boy at a school who started passing around the hat to all of his peers in school, in grade school, to raise money at a time when you could buy an acre in the Amazon for $1 US. And they raised over $1 million, and they've saved over 1 million acres of habitat. And let me finally just put that really in dynamic perspective. In 1998, Terry Irwin and colleagues from the Smithsonian Institution went to Yasuna National Park in eastern Ecuador and did some groundbreaking research. They found that on one tree, there were over 60,000 species dependent on that one tree. You go a hectare down, 2.4 acres away from that one tree, 60,000 different species. We are living in such biodiverse circumstances that everything we touch has ramifications. Every word we utter, every intention, every thought has deep resonance on this planet. This is why in the Jain tradition, you must really think before you speak. Restraint is everything. Humility and modesty are not just words. They're deeply religious, spiritual, meaningful concepts. And our ability as a species to revere and celebrate nature through this art that we see surrounding us today may be the key to our survival as a species. Our celebration of nature may be key to our survival as a species. Any other question? Gosh, we're getting off easy.
Would it be correct to ask the question that that while we can do negative impact to the earth, that saving nature could be more to the human interest than people realize, because it seems to me that if the earth can survive asteroid that was 10 times the size of Mount Everest, and the earth could survive that, it could survive humans, you know, and that really it's a matter of our own, you know, our own place that we don't want to be harmful bacteria. You know, that it's more a matter of, I mean, I'm sorry, I think I lost my question.
Are you suggesting that for example, 5 great extinctions that have occurred in the past, some of them by colliding objects outside our solar system,
well, yeah,
survived by the Earth?
Yes, but what I'm saying is that could it be that our own preservation of the Earth could be the preservation of ourselves, meaning that, I mean, you look at the way an immune system works. You know, if we become too detrimental, I don't think the Earth would have any problem, you know, saying, okay, that's it for you. So, I mean, if we have this consciousness about ourselves, I'm not to sound, you know, too self-absorbed, but I mean, really, this is ultimately a matter of our own, you know, survival and preserving our home. I mean, not to say that it's all about human survival, because as I said, the Earth will survive, but I mean, really, there is, I can't really form my question, but yeah.
Well, I think that the Earth will likely survive with or without us. We may not be part of the equation unless we take action today. Obviously, we're acting in our own interest by caring for this world, but we don't exist outside of nature. We are part of the big picture. So yes, the Earth might survive without us, but we will not survive unless we protect the nature that surrounds us and supports us.
Well, and let's just remember the big difference. I mean, you've read the headlines, you see them every day. The 6th extinction spasm in the annals of biology, 4.1 billion plus years, that's occurring right now. Let's remember that this extinction, which we alone have inflicted on the Earth, is different than any other extinction that's ever occurred. And that's because it's happening overnight in biological time. Other extinctions took, in some cases, millions of years to take place. It gave time for genetics to adapt. It gave time for behavior to change. We are losing, at last count this year, 42,000 populations every day. We are adding to the planet 1 Chicago every 3 weeks. There are now 1.2 billion individuals who are going to bed hungry. You read this data, and as Boutros Ghali once said, there is the risk of compassion fatigue. We lose sense of where we stand amidst such staggering numbers and prospects. But I'd just like to conclude on that note that the valuation of nature, which is a very clumsy computation at best, is somewhere in the order of 33 trillion per year of free services from nature, or 10 times this year's budget in the United States. And that's just an absolute guess. How do you place any value on fresh drinking water if you've gone 5 days without any water? How do you place value on oxygen if you've just gone 6 minutes without any oxygen to your blood system? How do you place value on this person versus that person? On this person versus this person?
On the joy of seeing a tree squirrel. I sometimes wonder how I would feel if I were to wake up and know that I would never see a robin or a tree squirrel or a pollinator. We wouldn't last long.
Friend of ours, just one last point, it's very interesting. A very close friend of ours who now lives in Singapore grew up in a jungle estate in Assam in northeast India. I asked her, Radha, well, how do you like Singapore? She married a Dutch architect. They have a nice life there. She did point out one disturbing fact about life in Singapore. She said, I just don't get the laws in this country. They do not allow kids to build tree houses. I thought about that. And I said, you're kidding. She said, no. It's illegal to build a tree house. Kids cannot climb trees in Singapore. And this takes us back to the adventures of Dr. Dolittle and to the childhood in all of us. And it's that childhood which, as Dostoevsky put it beautifully in one of his novels, we all live a few minutes of our lives and spend the rest of our lives trying to recapture those moments of miraculous joy and unfettered imaginative embrace of this universe. So I guess I'm urging all of you to recover your childhood as soon as possible, go with it, and let it take you wherever it will. Thanks.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the next presenter.